Welcome to the Latin Mass Response Tutorial, Part 5. This is your guide or coach, Father Robert Fromageot. We will now carry on with the fairly short responses that take place during the course of the Mass outside of the prayers at the foot of the altar. First up is the response of the server at the conclusion of the Epistle. The priest will put his hand down and the server will say in Latin what I will now say in English, "To God be thanks." How do you say then in Latin, "To God"? Deo. And how do you say thanks? Gratias. And so how do you say "To God thanks" or "To God be thanks"? Deo gratias. Notice there is no need to use the verb to be or esse in the Latin. It suffices simply to say, "To God thanks." To God be thanks. Deo gratias. After the server transfers the book to the gospel side of the altar, the priest will begin with a little dialogue. He says, "Dominus vobiscum," to which the answer, as usual, is "Et cum spiritu tuo." The next thing he says is "Sequentia sancti Evangelii secundum exempli gratia Matteum." So, how do you say a continuation? Sequentia. How do you say a continuation of the Holy Gospel? Sequentia sancti Evangelii. How do you say according to? Secundum. How do you say according to Matthew? Secundum Matteum. How do you say according to Mark? Secundum Marcum. How do you say according to Luke? Secundum Lucam. How do you say according to John? Secundum Ioannem. How do you say a continuation of the Holy Gospel according to John? Sequentia sancti Evangelii secundum Ioannem. How do you say a continuation of the Holy Gospel according to Matthew? Sequentia sancti Evangelii secundum Matteum. How do you say a continuation of the Holy Gospel according to Mark? Sequentia sancti Evangelii secundum Marcum. And how do you say a continuation of the Holy Gospel according to Luke? Sequentia sancti Evangelii secundum Lucam. The response to this is, "Glory to you, O Lord." How do you say, "O Lord," in Latin? Domine. How do you say, "Glory"? Gloria. How do you say, "To you"? Singular. Tibi. How do you say, "Glory to you, O Lord"? Gloria tibi, Domine. How do you say a continuation of the Holy Gospel according to John? Sequentia sancti Evangelii secundum Ioannem. How do you say, "Glory to you, O Lord"? Gloria tibi, Domine. How do you say, "The Lord be with you. Dominus vobiscum, or Dominus tecum. Now, after the Gospel, the priest will either perhaps turn the page back and then lift the book up, or simply lift the book up if he doesn't have to turn the page. At that point, the server says, "Praise to you, O Christ." So how do you say in Latin, praise? Laus. How do you say to you, singular? Tibi. How do you say, praise to you, O Christ? Laus tibi Christe. How do you say, to God be thanks, or thanks be to God? Deo gratias. How do you say, glory to you, O Lord? Gloria tibi Domine. And how do you say, praise to you, O Christ? Laus tibi Christe. And with that, we come to the offertory, which we will reserve for the next part. Until then, may God bless you.